me stand up this time. Okay. How many of you work out on a regular basis? I'm assuming a good bit of you have your hands up. Now, if I were to ask, how many of you drink a protein shake after each of your workouts? I can't see you, but I assume there's a few of you in the class that still have your hand raised. Well, what if I was to tell you this wasn't the case 20 years ago? It's only been with the growing popularity of social media and influencers, protein has found a way into the American mainstream diet. It is important to note that a sudden increase in protein popularity has led people to consume it blindly and not question its overall importance. To get a better understanding of protein supplements, one must know its function, how it can be used to diet, and how it can be used to bulk. With its three main applications in today's society in mind, each and every person must look at their day-to-day life and assess whether their consumption of protein supplements is right for them. To get a better understanding of protein before I analyze it, it is important to do some research about protein functions within the human body. In every diet, three main nutrients are required for human day-to-day function, those being fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. As such, these are deemed macronutrients. Now, for time restrictions within this speech, I'm only going to be looking at proteins and carbohydrates, leaving out fats. Each protein found within the body is made up of various amino acids, each varying in function and use. As such, these muscles that we possess are made of these amino acids, and according to EUPHIS, an online health magazine, are continually being repaired and replaced throughout our lives. Interestingly, proteins gain the majority of credit when looking at muscle growth and repair. Even with that said, carbohydrates hold an equally as important role in this category. When looking at carbohydrates, there are two types of sources: glucose, which is easy energy, and glycogen, which is long-term energy. Glycogen can be thought of as the body's energy reserves, and these energy reserves help to facilitate the recovery and speed of strained muscles. As Dreda found in his glucose study, the increased synthesis immediately post-exercise is in part due to a faster rate of muscle glucose uptake and an increase in muscle insulin sensitivity. While proteins are important to the growth and maintenance of our muscles, carbohydrates are needed to supply the body with energy to perform these tasks. Without proper nutrition, these post-protein shakes associated with most gym visits become wasted potential, and as such are poorly implemented into the body. Have you ever looked at something and wondered, maybe I shouldn't eat that, and for that reason, you decide not to indulge yourself? Well, congratulations, you have effectively dieted. Ever since the early 1950s, dieting's prevalence within American society has only increased. With each generation having its own tips and tricks, it was only a matter of time before protein supplements found their way onto that list. Luckily, being knowledgeable about protein consumption can be quite beneficial when attempting to lose weight. The easiest way to approach the topic would be to compare a bag of chips and a breast of chicken. Let's say that each are the same in calories. Now, I don't need to tell you, but everybody knows that eating that breast of chicken will be much more satiating and filling than the bag of chips. Ever wonder why this is? This is because that the proteins that are made up of those amino acid chains are extremely complex, and as such, it is extremely hard for our stomachs to digest them. This means that protein sits for a longer period of time within the gut and takes a longer amount of time for the amino acids to be fully digested into our systems, and as such, it satiates our hunger for longer. According to Wingle, protein is more satiating than fat is, and a previous study has also shown that protein is more satiating than carbohydrates. With all the info in dieting and protein available, it is important to see how they can come together to effectively diet. Protein supplements like a protein smoothie can be extremely satiating and low calorie. As such, they easily replace a meal and still leave the user feeling full. This can be repeated on a multiple basis, allowing the user to replace meals and lower their overall caloric intake, thus losing weight. Overall, if your goal is to lose weight, protein supplements can be used to help lower your overall caloric intake. and while still allowing for an extremely satiating meal. This pattern would need to be repeated on a consistent basis, around 3 to 5 times a week. Otherwise, protein supplementation would just be wasted effort, as your body is not on a consistent enough regimen, to make anything of it. Bulking has been a trend that has caught on specifically within the last 10 years, and as such is still a relatively unexplored field in scientific study. With the goal of putting on weight, hopefully being muscle, people who bulk indulge in large amounts of proteins and carbohydrates to help fuel their workouts and post-recovery workouts. Of course, the goal of putting on muscle can sound easy, but in order to effectively bulk, one must aim for muscle hypertrophy and long-term rest periods. According to Men's Health, muscle hypertrophy is better understood as the thickening of muscle fibers which occur when the body has been stressed just the right amount to indicate that the muscle must create larger, stronger muscles that can tolerate this new increased load. This essentially means that for someone to obtain muscle hypertrophy, they would need to consistently push themselves for muscle soreness in the desired areas. While pushing the weight is important, correct amounts of proper rest are also needed. According to Dr. Tavol, this allows the body to release growth factors, cortisol, and testosterone, all of which are needed for muscle recovery and protein synthesis. With bulking in mind, protein supplements can be seen as an easy additive to reach the surplus of protein needed on a per-day basis. Overall, the consumption of these protein supplements in order to bulk won't result in much if the user is not getting the correct amount of macronutrients, rigorous gym exercise, and proper rest. With everything on the table, protein isn't going anywhere. It's essential to life on Earth, and as such is deeply ingrained in every human's day-to-day life. With such an important role to our survival, it should only be natural that we try to have a deeper understanding of protein's function, how it can be used to diet, and how it can be used to bulk. Next time, instead of blindly grabbing that post-gym protein shake, think about the goals you're trying to achieve for yourself. Protein is a tool, and with it being one of the building blocks of our bodies, it is only fair to ourselves that we have a firm mental foundation of how we wish to utilize it. Thank you.